Well, happy 2024. I'm excited about travel times to and from Charlotte International Airport. I know a lot of you for the coming year, you're thinking about, hey, travel plans and what do I think we might want to do? Well, I got an article today in my local Axios newsletter, and I do love getting that every day. You can scan through in a few minutes. So let me tell you about direct flights from CLT. My wife and I experienced this pre-pandemic when we flew from here to Amsterdam, direct flight, and we came down through train down to Paris over a few days, and we flew back from Paris to Charlotte, direct flight. So let me just go quickly. I'll have a link and some data in the description below. But let me just talk about some of these because you may be in one of these cities and want to come. Maybe this will encourage you. You might say, hey, if I lived in Charlotte, what are the possibilities? So I know a lot of people retire here wanting to travel. So Austin, Texas, a little over 3 hours. Bangor, Maine. She and I did that for an anesthesia conference, about 2.5 hours to Bangor, Maine. Boston, 2 hours and 10 minutes, right? Chicago. That was our first little trip that we took when she retired to Chicago, about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Columbus, Ohio, 90 minutes. We get a lot of people moving here from central Ohio. Dallas, that's a good trip, 3 hours, right? I mean, it's nothing. You could do that standing on your head. Dayton, you go see Bootsy Collins live in person in his hometown, about an hour 40 to Dayton. Denver, Colorado, less than 4 hours. Now, when I went out to Seattle, I had a stopover in Denver, had a steak at the airport at a cool steakhouse there, but about 4 hours to Denver and then on to Seattle, but Seattle's on this list as well. Why didn't I go direct? Detroit, less than 2 hours. Now, a lot of flights to Florida, but here's what you need to know. Even though CLT is a great airport, the last time we went to Florida, we flew from our little airport in Concord, North Carolina, up where the NASCAR track is. Very pleasant experience. Direct flight right to Destin, Florida. Houston, Texas, under 3 hours. Fort Myers, Florida, 2 hours. Indianapolis, that's where I'm from. I've made this trip, although I prefer to drive. But Indianapolis, about an hour 40, an hour and 40 minutes. Jacksonville, Florida. Obviously, these are alphabetized. Jacksonville, Florida. Now, we don't want to go there. They shut us out. I know our team's looking bad this year. They shut us out. I'm not telling you about Jacksonville. Kansas City, I went there a year or two ago. A friend of mine was celebrating 50-year ministry anniversary, and I had a great time there. 2.5 hours to Kansas City. Key West, Florida. And we drove when we went there, but you could fly there about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that was a nice drive in a convertible all the way through the Keys. Key West, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Las Vegas, Nevada, we've flown there a little over 5 hours. LA, 5.5 hours, although I'm not interested in going to LA anytime soon. Have my fill of that. Louisville, about a little over an hour and a half. Madison, Wisconsin, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Beautiful Wisconsin, man. What a lovely state. Saw the northern lights driving through the entire state one time. I was driving through the entire state and stopped when I saw the northern lights and just looked up. What was God thinking when he created that? Martha's Vineyard. We went there a few years ago for an anesthesia conference, although I think we flew into Boston, but less than 2.5 hours. And that's June through August. June through August, Martha's Vineyard, 2.5 hours, right at 225. Memphis, Tennessee, less than 2 hours. Miami, Florida, just over 2 hours. Milwaukee, just over 2 hours. Minneapolis, been there in the winter, less than 3 hours. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, a little over an hour. But why wouldn't you just get in the car and go a little over 3 hours, drive it? That's fun to drive through South Carolina like that. But you can get there in an hour and 5 minutes. Nashville, about a little over an hour and a half. Again, I would tend to drive there 6 hours, but a little over an hour and a half on a plane. New Orleans, again, you can go New Orleans from the Concord Airport, and that's a direct flight and cheap. But New Orleans, Louisiana, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Patty's son went down there to see the Panthers lose to the Saints in person. Oh, man. New York, 2 hours. Orlando, Florida, just under 2 hours. I went to a real estate conference there But did I fly? I think I did. Yes, I did. Pensacola, Florida, near Destin, 2 hours. Philly, hour 40. Phoenix, 4 hours and 45 minutes. My friend was widowed, and my dear friend, and I flew to Phoenix to hang out with him. That was a little under 5 hours. Pittsburgh, about an hour and a half. Shout out to all of our Steelers fans and all the YouTube subscribers we've helped from Pittsburgh. Portland, Oregon, 5 hours and 40 minutes. Raleigh, Durham, again, less than an hour, but why not just get in the car and drive a little over 2 hours? Rochester, New York, under 2 hours. Sacramento, California. Man, we've moved some people from California this last year. About 5.5 hours. San Antonio, a little over 3 hours. Now, I would like to make that flight. Although I'm not thinking about flying anytime soon. 3 hours and 15 minutes to San Antonio. San Diego, now that's a neat place. 5 hours and 20 minutes. Are you bored yet? You probably can just click off, but please don't. Average view duration is important for YouTubers. San Fran, under 6 hours. Here you go, Puerto Rico, 3.5 hours, about 3:35 to Puerto Rico. Savannah, Georgia, again, an hour and 15 minutes, but I mean, that's a nice little drive. Seattle, Washington, 6 hours, and so on. St. Louis, 2 hours. Washington, D.C., hour and a half. I drove up there to see Tower Power, spent the night. I like to drive. You know that now. By the way, if you're interested, some great international, and then I'll let you go. Antigua and Barbuda, Barbuda, Antigua, less than 4 hours. Aruba, less than 4 hours. Patty and I did that a couple of years ago. Belize, 3 hours and a half. Now, I want to go to Belize. I want to go to Belize. Bermuda, Patty went with a girlfriend, 2.5 hours. Cancun, a little over 3 hours. Bahamas, under about 2.5 hours. Frankfurt, Germany. We have a large, good-sized German population here, about 8.5 hours. London, less than 8 hours. Madrid, I want to go there, under 8 hours. Montreal, 2.5 hours. Munich, 8.5 hours. Paris, a little over 8 hours. Rome, 9 hours. Costa Rica, San Jose. I've flown into San Jose, Costa Rica for a mission trip years ago, 4 hours and 10 minutes. And then Toronto, a little over 2 hours. I hope I haven't bored you to death. We want you to come. We want to help you. Give me a call. Never reach out to a builder, fill out a form, or go into a model without a buyer agent. That's what we do. Call your boy, 704-345-3400, and I'll see you in the next video.